What is going on, bass fishing freaks? It is Hunter with LS Lures, and today we're going to be talking about everything buzzbaits, where I like to throw them, what the heck is a buzzbait, skirt, no skirt, clacker, no clacker. We're breaking down everything, what my favorite trailers are. I mean, we're going to go over it all, okay? It's Tackle Talk Tuesday. We're really breaking it down, but before we get into it, we've got a sweet deal for you guys. Tomorrow, Wednesday, the 20th, through Friday at midnight, we've got a hell of a deal going on for y'all. I think we're gonna make this a weekly thing. I like it, you guys seem to like it. Last week went great with the big jig boxes, but this week, all full-size buzzbaits, skirted, naked, whatever it may be, are 20% off. And we've got a new buzzbait for you guys, okay? This is called the Little Buzzard. It's an awesome little finesse cut 1/4 ounce buzzbait. We've got some awesome limited colors this week for $5 a piece, okay? We've got a ton of them. We've been tying like crazy. These things are awesome. They squeak like crazy. They get a ton of bites, and it's an awesome way to just pick up a lot more fish for $5, okay? So we're gonna burn through some of these limited colors that we're dropping this week because they're new, and then after these are gone, we'll break down, we'll go back to some of our more standard, true, tried, reliable, whatever you wanna call them. But $5 on the little buzzards, 20% off all the big buzzbaits right now. Fall is right around the corner. I know it's absolutely miserable hot outside right now. I think it's 94 degrees in the shop. So if you see me start sweating, which I already am in here, we don't have AC in the shop right now. So if I start sweating at any point or pass out and die, you know what, we'll get there when we get there. But fall's right around the corner. They're gonna be chewing, but they're eating a buzzbait good right now, but it's only gonna get better from here until October, November. So load up on these. They're awesome buzzbaits. We hand tune every single one of them, so they squeak really nice, and they catch a ton of fish, okay? I've won a lot of money on a buzzbait, but getting into things today, guys, we're gonna jump right into it here. First and foremost, for those of you who don't know what the heck a buzzbait is, a buzzbait is just a skirted jig, kind of like a spinnerbait. It's got a wire off the front, except for instead of this wire coming at a 45-degree angle, it cuts back. It's got an awesome little blade on there that's cupped, so it keeps that bait up on top of the water. And depending on what your head color is, what the skirt looks like, whatever you're trying to go for, what color your trailer is, this bait can mimic pretty much any kind of forage, and it makes it look like it's fleeing across the surface there. So whether it's a shad, a toad, a bluegill, right? We've all seen it when we bat out on the water. Those fish come up chasing, all the bait sprays across the surface, whether that's shad, you see that frog come hopping across the top. This can mimic just about anything. So it's a great bait to cover a ton of water. It catches big ones all year round, and it's just a really fun way to fish, okay? You get some absolutely insane blow-ups on it, and it's a lot of fun. So today we're gonna be talking about all the good stuff and things. A friendly reminder, this is my opinion, this is not law. Okay, I run a jig company. This is my full-time job. I fished in college, I've fished tournaments all over, and I feel like I do decent sometimes, but this is my opinion. So if you disagree with it, it's just my opinion, okay? This is what I like, this is what we do. I'm just trying to help you guys catch more fish. And if you have anything to add, let me know. I learn stuff from my comment section all the time, you know? People say, hey, I like doing this, so I go, awesome, I gotta try that. And you guys are right too, you know? That's the beauty about the fishing world. Everything's fun and there's no technical right answer to anything, right? So jumping into it, the nitty gritty, the meat and potatoes of this video, we're gonna go ahead and get into picking a buzzbait out and why, right? So the biggest thing you're gonna have to decide first off when you're fishing a buzzbait is skirted or naked, okay? Skirted being it's got a skirt on it, naked being it doesn't, okay? It's the same thing. These two are identical. They're both 3/8 ounce. The head color is a little bit different there, but this one's got a skirt on it, this one does not. Starting off with the skirted buzzbait, why I pick one, what kind of influences my thinking when I'm out on the water and I'm trying to find one there. When I pick a skirted buzzbait, there's a couple things that key me in on it, right? First one being the size of fish I'm after. Okay, if I'm at a spot where it takes, you know, typically 16, 17 to 20 plus pounds to win, I normally go with a skirted buzzbait, okay? It gets bigger bites, it's a lot meatier profile, it's got a lot more presence in the water, and I feel like generally if I'm gonna catch a big one on a buzzbait, it's gonna have a skirt on it, okay? So that's the first thing I'm looking for, what the size of the fish is that I'm targeting, how many bites I wanna get, because generally I can wean out that smaller class of fish just by going to that skirted there. Another thing that I'm looking for, what size the bait are, okay? You can catch bass on a buzzbait, a skirted buzzbait, no matter how big the forage is that they're going after, okay? If they're eating itty bitty stuff all the way up to great big gizzards, okay, they'll still eat a buzzbait. But if they're eating a bigger size of shad, and I know it for sure, that skirted buzzbait's a great way, again, to add bulk, to make that buzzbait look bigger, mimic that bigger profile of, you know, that 4 to 6 inch gizzard shad there. So if they're eating bigger bait, that's another thing that just says, okay, I'm gonna throw a skirted buzzbait there. Another thing, water temp, how fast I wanna reel that bait. Having a skirt on there does add more drag, okay? It's got more pull than a naked buzzbait because this doesn't have, the only thing dragging this is the trailer. When I put a trailer on this is a big old sucker now, it's gonna go a lot slower. So when I'm fishing in the spring, specifically in the spring, and I want that buzzbait to go as kind of as slow as possible along the surface because the water temp's 52 degrees, you know? I want a buzzbait that's got a skirt on it. Also, if I'm fishing it that early, because they will eat a buzzbait once the water hits 51, 52 degrees in the spring, you know, generally the bites that you get on that are gonna be over 3 pounds. So I want the meatiest buzzbait possible. But if you wanna work it a little bit slower, if you want that bait to kind of crawl along the surface, having a skirt on there does help. Last but not least, the fourth thing I'm kind of looking for there is what the water clarity is. If the water's dingier, if it's a little bit dirtier, typically speaking, I like a skirt on the back. I feel like it just helps add presence, makes it look, or gives it more kind of going on, gives them something else to key in on, and you know, it's the same reason we throw a big spinnerbait or a big chatterbait when the water gets dirty. It just gives them more to key in on. It's a bigger presence in the water. So if the water's dirtier, or less, I'm typically throwing one with a skirt on it there. So those are the 4 things: the size of fish I'm after, how fast I want to reel it, the size of bait I'm trying to mimic, and what the water clarity is, okay? So when you're picking a skirted buzzbait, again, I'm not saying I couldn't take a naked buzzbait to any of these places and still catch them. That's just the reasons why I picked this first, okay? Going on to a naked buzzbait. I am drenched, guys. Holy cow, it is hot in here. And I just shut off the fan so you can hear me, so we're gonna take a little sweat break, and then I gotta get some dang AC in here. Holy smokes. Anyway, going on to a naked buzzbait, okay? It's pretty much the counter to everything I just said there. A naked buzzbait does not have a skirt on it. It's just presenting a soft plastic on the surface that mimics some kind of bait fish, some kind of bluegill, whatever. This one, typically speaking, will get you more bites. So the first thing that definitely determines why I'm starting with this one is gonna be what size of fish I'm after. If I'm fishing, like we were at a tournament a couple years ago at Winyah Bay. It was a college national championship. We had a really good finish. We caught most of our fish on a buzzbait, a naked buzzbait, because 8 pounds there was not a terrible day. You break 10 pounds, you're sitting really good. Anything over 10 or 12 pounds, you had a doozy of a day, right? This gets more bites. It's a lot less intimidating than a buzzbait with a full skirt on it. So if I'm fishing somewhere that's really tough, traditionally, you know, an Arkansas River, a Winyah Bay, the Sabine, like a place that's just gotten the absolute piss beat out of it too. You know, like if I'm fishing a lake that, I don't know, we're fishing, there's a ton of guys there, and 90% of them, there it is, 90% of them are throwing a big buzzbait with a big skirt on it. This is a great way to go through and pick off some of those smarter fish, okay? It's a little bit, not more natural, but it just presents a bait that's finessier, per se, that is different than what a lot of guys do. Hypothetically speaking, it depends on your lake, okay? But this just gets more bites. So if I'm in an area that's a little bit tougher, I will get more bites on a non-skirted buzzbait. Catch a lot more of the smaller fish. It still catches big ones, but that's the first factor there. The second factor is that water clarity. If it's a little bit cleaner, not saying you can't make a skirted buzzbait look really natural, but I can take a little itty bitty swim bait, I can take a natural colored swim bait, I can change the profile on this to where it doesn't have that big bulky skirt. And so again, it's a great way to get more bites when the water's clean, and I can also reel it faster. So the faster, traditionally speaking, or whatever, in cleaner water, moving bait, you want to move it faster so they get a worse look at it, it's more of a reaction bite. I can take a 1/2 ounce non-skirted buzzbait, put a trailer on the back, and burn that puppy and get a ton of bites in clean water sometimes, just because it looks a little bit more natural, it's not going as slow. that's great. And then last but not least, I can make this a lot smaller than I can with a skirted buzzbait. So if the bait fish is itty bitty, I can take a little tiny Swimbait or like a Z-craw on the back of this thing and make it really tiny and compact and key in on those fish that are eating itty bitty bait fish there. So the biggest thing with the non-skirted buzzbait is gonna be pressure where I'm at. If I'm fishing a river, it seems like sometimes, depending on the river too, the naked buzzbait performs just a little bit better. But it's just the forage I'm after, how many bites I'm looking to get, and then what the fishing pressure is like, because I feel like when the fish start getting smart, this just picks up more bites there. So that's gonna be the biggest difference between the two of those. In terms of what I look for, you can interchange them. Figure it out, try what you like, see. Sometimes the fish just key in on weird stuff, right? And your area might not make any sense, but they only need to eat a naked buzzbait. Sometimes they only want it with a skirt on it, right? Lake of the Ozarks, traditionally speaking, a lot of guys like throwing a big old black and gold buzzbait. Water might be really clear, it might not be, but they just eat it, okay? So play around with it, try what you like. Last but not least, one last thing on the skirts versus no skirt debate. I feel like a skirted buzzbait performs better in the spring. I think it does better early, especially when the water temps are a little bit cooler. I think that's true all the way through late spring, early summer and stuff. I feel like they're less accustomed to it. They haven't seen it as much. It just gets a bit better. As things move on into the midsummer, like it is right now, late summer, it's hot. It's 94 degrees in here right now. The bite's been tough. I feel like when those fish get more pressure, the water's hotter. I feel like a non-skirted buzzbait works better. I think they've seen this a lot at that point. I think this gets more bites. I especially think in those hotter summer months, this, for whatever reason, just performs better. I can reel a little bit quicker, can downsize it. I can do whatever I need to, but I feel like this does better in the middle of the summer there. Especially when they've seen this all year so far. And then again, going into fall, I think you can throw either one. I think the fall is the best time all year to chuck a buzzbait. The bait's up shallow, the fish have the feed bag on. This is a great way to cover a ton of water. I personally think skirted buzzbait will do better in the fall. It'll get bigger bites, but both of these are killer. Toss them up, do whatever you want. You will catch fish on both of these. Now, the next topic of discussion, clacker versus no clacker. This one's a toss-up. What a clacker is. Our clacker, any clacker, it's all the same concept there, is a little piece of metal that attaches to that front wire there, so that every time that blade spins, it hits that piece of metal and it makes a clacking or a tinking noise. Different types of buzzbaits, some have a bead down here, some of them hit the head of the buzzbait. Whatever it may be, right? It all depends on who's you're throwing and whatnot, but the LS buzzbait has that piece of metal that sits right there and it clacks every time that blade comes around. So instead of the traditional just squeak that ours has when it's spinning, chirping through the water there, instead of that, it's a much louder tick, 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 clack, 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 whatever you want to call it there as it's coming through the water. Some guys swear by a clacking buzzbait, some guys don't. I typically don't throw a clacking buzzbait, you know. I think most of the time I can get the job done just fine without it. I do think a clacking buzzbait comes into play more in the spring and the fall. I think in the spring, it's louder, it draws bigger bites. Again, if you're fishing for big ones anyway, a clacker can just have more presence in the water there and it gets a ton of bites. I've done really good in the spring on clacking buzzbaits, especially fishing around shallow cover and that muddier water. It's got more presence, it pisses them off, they're up there shallow. I think it can be really, really important in the spring. I think it's also effective in the fall, especially when you're fishing areas that have a ton of bait fish shallow. When there is that much bait, you almost have to do whatever you can to make your bait stand out, right? So a loud clacking buzzbait is absolutely obnoxious, and I think some of the best ways, or the best way to get some of the biggest bites you're gonna get all fall is with a really loud clacking buzzbait. So when those fish are up there chasing shad and there's bait everywhere, they can do whatever they want. I don't know if it pisses them off, I don't know if it's just loud enough that they pay more attention to it, but I think a clacking buzzbait can also be super important in the fall. We've seen that at Lake of the Ozarks in the past, going down there squeaking, a regular buzzbait versus a clacking. Some days the regular one or the non-clacking performs better. Other days, for whatever reason, if you get around more bait, I feel like the clacking always does better and it gets some really big bites there. So that's my logic behind that. Dirtier water, I think clacking can be more important, and then spring and fall. Otherwise, again, that's the thing with buzzbaits. You gotta kind of play around and see what those fish are keyed into, especially on your personal body of water. But try it in the fall and the spring and you're gonna catch a lot more big fish there. All right, the next topic of discussion is going to be buzzbait sizes, okay? We make 3, and I feel like there's 3 main ones that guys throw, and that's going to be a 1/2 ounce, 3/8, and a 1/4 size. Generally speaking, at least with ours, the 1/2 ounce and the 3/8 are going to be the exact same frame. The 3/8 is just going to have a smaller head. 1/4 ounce buzzbaits, especially with ours, are going to be quite a bit smaller there, okay? They've got a smaller wire, a little bit smaller hook on it. This one's got a 4/0, this one has a 3/0. They're going to be a little bit smaller, and these are also typically going to have just a little bit smaller blade on them there, because starting with the 1/4 ounce, a 1/4 ouncer crawls. This is our little buzzbait that we talked about earlier. It's got a really awesome little squeaky blade on there, but a 1/4 ounce buzzbait does not weigh anything. That's not to say you can't cast it far. You put a trailer on the back, you can wing this sucker, but a 1/4 ounce buzzbait crawls, okay? It's super good, and when conditions get really pressured, if everyone's chucking a big loud 3/8 or 1/2 ouncer that has a lot of presence in the water, those fish are beat up, it's a multiple day tournament, or your lake is just piss pounded, a 1/4 ounce buzzbait is awesome because it's quieter, it goes slower on the surface, it has less of a presence, and it's also really good in super shallow water. So if those fish are up in the dirt, a big loud 1/2 ounce buzzbait is going to have a lot more noise, and sometimes it's almost too much if they're that shallow, right? So you can go in there with a 1/4 ounce that isn't as loud, it doesn't splash as loud, it's still got presence in the water, it's just not as obnoxious. A 1/4 ounce buzzbait can be a really good way to get a ton of bites in situations like that, or when those fish have seen all those bigger buzzbaits, sometimes you can comb back through with this and pick up some of those fish. Another thing with a 1/4 ounce buzzbait, especially this little buzzard, is when the bait fish they're feeding on is substantially smaller, sometimes a full-size buzzbait is just too much. This one has got a way smaller profile there. It's got a little bit different action. We've cut the skirt different, so it flows different there. It's not as bulky on the back. And with that, we can mimic much smaller bait fish if they're keyed in on smaller bluegill, smaller shad, whatever it may be, and pick up a lot of fish there. Because if they are truly keyed in on a bait fish that small, sometimes they just won't eat this, but they will eat this. So that's another great option. 1/4 ounce buzzbait, great in shallow water, great when the fishing gets tough, and great when they're keyed in on little itty bitty bait fish there. Moving on to the difference between like a 3/8 and a 1/2 ouncer. Biggest thing is going to be the retrieval speed, and that goes for a 1/4 ouncer too. The heavier buzzbait you get, the faster you can reel it without it burning out, right? So a 1/2 ounce buzzbait, I can really cover some water with. I get a little bit better casting distance out of it, but I can also move that bait a lot quicker without it blowing out. Because as we know, you get a buzzbait, you start really churning on it, and it'll flip up to where it's just cruising across the surface and that bait doesn't stay down. With a 1/2 or a 3/8 ounce, depending on how fast you're wanting to fish, a 1/2 ounce, if they're going crazy and you're trying to burn water, throw a 1/2 ounce because you can reel it substantially faster, cover more water, make longer casts, and if they're going hog wild for it, great. Absolutely throw a 1/2 ouncer there because it will stay true and you can reel faster. A 3/8 ouncer, you have to reel a little bit slower because if you reel too fast, that bait will blow out, it'll come up on the surface and you just don't get bit as much, right? So 3/8 ouncer is a little bit more subtle, it's a little bit slower there. Ours are the exact same size profile, so our 1/2 ounce and our 3/8 are both built the same way, they both have the same hook size, same blade, same wire, same everything. You can just reel a 1/2 ouncer faster. So depending on the style, I like to typically throw a 1/2. If things get a little bit tougher or some of the lakes around here get pretty beat up, I'll switch down to that 3/8, or if I'm trying to really pick an area apart and I know they're there, I'll go down to that 3/8. Otherwise, if I'm just, blind shooting, if I'm trying to figure out where those fish are and cover a ton of water, why not throw a 1/2 ouncer, right? You're more efficient on the water with it. So biggest difference between all of these is going to be how fast am I fishing? The faster I'm trying to fish, the heavier I'm going to throw. And then as I kind of downgrade to, okay, I'm trying to pick apart this area better, okay, they're really shallow, or I'm really trying to milk everything for what's got, that's when I start going down in size there. So play around with it, see what you guys like, but that's the biggest difference in size, is just going to be how fast you can reel them. Alrighty y'all, we're going to try and wrap this up quick because it is hot, the camera keeps overheating, and we're having some serious issues with this just running and doing what it can without frying it. So last but not least, we're going to talk about trailers. I've got a couple favorites that I like to typically throw, so we'll jump into those. We'll talk about buzzbait colors, and then we're going to let you get out of here. But first and foremost, my absolute favorite buzzbait trailer of all time is either going to be a Menace Grub style trailer, Revive Bait Co. Greasy Grub, something like this, or a Zoom Z-Craw. I throw the Menace Grub more often. The Z-Craw is another good option. This is Z-Craw Junior. Maybe not orange, but this is just so you guys can see it. Either way, it's just some kind of streamlined trailer that's a little bit flatter in the Z-Craw's case scenario. It's a little bit more round all the way around, but the biggest thing with these is just that subtle action they've got on the back. It's a really good kicking action. It matches the action of the Buzzbait really well, and I can imitate pretty much everything with it, right? So I just match the color of this bait to the Buzzbait, whether it's black, green pumpkin, white, silver, chrome, yellow, whatever it may be. These things work everywhere and they match everything. They also work really good on the back of a naked buzzbait or a skirted buzzbait. They do really well, they look good, they fit the profile. There's not too much action, there's not too little. They stay up, they don't roll, they don't cant anything anyway. So it's a really, really good option to just kind of cover all, caught a ton of fish on it. One thing with these, a little trick here, is most guys rig them horizontally like that, so they kick like this. Every now and then, or I used to have a bunch of issues with some of these pinchers coming up and catching on the hook, so that fouls the bait up, they don't kick. One thing you can do is rig it vertically like this. So now instead of kicking like this, it kicks like this. And with that, I feel like it doesn't get hung up quite as much for some reason. I get just as many bites. You could argue it gets more bites just because it looks a little bit different than all the other ones there. But this is a really, really awesome option for kind of a catch-all. The next best one, in my opinion, is going to be some kind of toad style. This is a Strike King Rage Toad. Throw a horny toad, throw whatever kind of toad you want on the back. But this is another great option. Typically, I just like to throw these on the back of a naked buzzbait. Before my camera randomly died, I shoved this on here. But one thing I want to show you guys is that with the toad style bait on a naked buzzbait, you can work that bait all the way up onto the head of your buzzbait. So that now instead of sitting behind the head, it's just one big streamlined profile there. And now I can cast this sucker around. It's just one bait that hooks all the way at the back, so I'm not gonna miss any of them. And it skips, it comes through cover really well, but this is another great option. A toad bait's just a little bit wider than your Menace Grub. It's got the same action, it's got a little bit more presence in the water there. So this is another great option, any kind of toad style, especially for a naked buzzbait. And last but not least, some kind of swim bait trailer. This is obnoxiously large. I wouldn't throw one this big. Stay between like 3 and 3.5 inches, maybe 4. But this will work on the back of both a naked or a skirted buzzbait and on a naked buzzbait there. They're probably one of the better ones to mimic specifically bait fish there. But again, match the color. It's got a good kicking action. I feel like I get more short strikes on a swim bait than I do with something like this. And I feel like I can get better action and have my hook further back on a Menace Grub than a swim bait, because the further back your hook is on that swim bait, the less area it's got to move and truly do what it needs to do. I also feel like swim baits might get fouled up just a little bit more on a buzzbait as far as their tails getting hooked in, but this is a great way to still get bites. They look really good, they work really good, and they'll catch fish on the back of a buzzbait there. Last thing before the camera craps out on me again because it's so hot in here, and I am absolutely drenched, you guys. Last thing is going to be buzzbait colors. Black, black and gold, something like that. We make an awesome black and gold color. Will work everywhere all year round. It doesn't matter if they're feeding on bluegill, shad. It just seems like it gets bit all the time, all year, from the beginning to the end. It just works. If you're targeting bait fish, or if the fish are targeting bait fish, a white or a silver will work really well. We've got both. Pacifier is a really good clear water one. It's a more natural shad color. We've got bright whites, plain whites, whatever you want. Chartreuse and white. Really good when they're keyed in on that shad, depending on the water clarity there. But a white buzzbait will catch fish pretty much year round as well, just depending on what they're keyed on. And then last but not least, some kind of natural color. If you're fishing ponds, if you're fishing for bluegill eaters, we've got Dirty Larry. It's linked below. Check them all out. We've got a couple special colors too that I'm not going to show you on here because it's a surprise. But they're freaking wicked, and we've got some living rubber ones that we're dropping tomorrow too that are absolutely badass. But check everything out, guys. Just match the color of the bait to the color of the forage, and if you don't know, throw black because it always gets bit. But that's all we've got for you guys. I don't know how much longer the camera has left. We need to get it in some cooler conditions here. I'm gonna sweat it out. I think I'm sweating through my shirt right now. But thank you guys so much for watching. That's everything with Buzzbaits. If you have any questions, I'll put my email below. Shoot me a message, ask if you want any custom orders. We do those all the time too. Drop me a comment or do whatever. Just get in touch with me. But I appreciate you guys. Everything's linked below, the website, All the discounts are starting tonight at midnight. They're gonna be good until Friday at midnight, so hop on that. $5 little buzzards, 20% off. Skirted, naked, full-size buzz baits there. We've got 1/4 ounces in these sizes too now, which is gonna be awesome. But check them out, guys. I appreciate you all watching big time. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.